when we look for new GCs, that we vet them, that we walk their projects, right? That we call references, talk to people that they have worked for, built for, and then really asking a lot of detailed questions about their operations, right? Do they have superintendents? If so, how many projects do they have at any given time, so that the supervision is never compromised? And then also, do they have a cost estimator, obviously, on staff? And are they really getting 3 quotes like per trade? Are they shopping? Because the last thing you want is, them being just over capacity.
Are you looking to achieve massive success in your life without dealing with costly investment nightmares? If yes, then this is the podcast for you. Here, we provide engineers and busy professionals all the secrets and strategies to create multiple streams of income, build generational wealth, and live a meaningful life by design. Here's your host, Ted Patel.
Hey everyone, this is Ted Patel, and welcome to this week's edition of Decoding Cashflow Podcast. As always, I'm here with a great guest, Joséphine Saffert. Josephine is a German native who came to Nashville as a D1 track athlete recruit in 2011. She sponsored a green card by providing ground-up construction opportunities in Middle Tennessee, adding to American economy as a real estate developer. She is a founder of Sapphire Development Group that delivers a one-stop real estate experience, from offering off-market deals and developing ground-up single and multifamily properties to helping investors build and sell real estate portfolios. Josephine, welcome to Decoding Cashflow Podcast. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to chat with you.
All right. So, Josephine, before we dive deep into your specific niche, if you can give a little bit background about yourself on how did you get started into real estate and what's your main focus as of now?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I'm German, so family's still in Germany. And I initially grew up around real estate. Definitely didn't think I was going to start sort of right out of college on my own entrepreneurially. I have a finance background, thought I was going to end up in investment banking. In 2016, had a Wall Street offer after college, and then essentially sponsorship, for immigrations became a massive obstacle. And it's one of those where, it's just, as you turn any obstacle into opportunities, that's usually when the most beautiful sort of breakthroughs happen, right? And that's kind of like what it was for me. I still ended up moving to New York and joined a tech startup. And from there, networked the entrepreneurial space, venture capital, private equity, angel investors, and got the hang of raising capital. And then in 2017, started my first company with my former business partner here in Nashville. So I ended up moving back down to Nashville, and we started fixing and flipping properties, and that scaled very fast. So that was sort of my start to really real estate in the US. We bought a lot of auction homes, REO property, and then immigration services kind of came back again after I'd submitted entrepreneurially on an EB2, that renovations don't count as a business. So if you have essentially a flipping business and you make, $20 million, it does not count as a business under US immigrations code. And so that led me to pivoting. I pivoted to new construction, and I was like, well, what about building ground up on US soil, hiring Americans? Will that work? And so ultimately, that's what really made it happen. And so my first project was 4 units here in Nashville downtown area. It was a $2 million project, sold those for $500,000 each. And that sort of was, my winning green card case. And then since then, I really scaled, and I broke off from my former business partner, learned a lot of hard lessons, and bounced back even stronger. And now we're here. And we have about right now 42 upcoming units. And so this year I've been working on about 52. We sold a few. Yeah.
Awesome. And just help me understand this green card EB to, the process, right? Because I am planning, as we spoke earlier, right? We are also into the new construction, and we do luxury single family as well as small multifamily properties, ground up construction. And I was planning to help investor invest in my property and sponsor EB5. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So I'm looking into that venture also. So help me understand how you did your green card with this new development. opportunities?
How much time do we have?
I know. Let's summarize it. Let's.
Yeah. So, I mean, EB2, the visa category of EB2 is for essentially exceptional ability in business. And so that visa category is for anybody that has sort of some kind of track record. I had a financial track record and had, really strong resume. And so I utilized that and basically pivoted into that entrepreneurial venture side and provided forecasts on like what I thought I was able to do in like building a business, right? And so that's what I used where I essentially started raising capital from private investors, angel investors. And then, that way, start my first like construction project. So I raised from accredited investors, high net worth individuals initially. And so I did not raise from like EB5 visas.
Okay.
Raising from EB5 visas is very difficult from a boutique development shop standpoint. I think the EB5s are probably more so like coming into play as you're looking to almost like go institutional capital raises. Yeah. So those are definitely, including more compliance needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the EB2 visa was sponsored by your own company, right?
I sponsored it by myself. Yeah, so it's actually not depending on the company itself. It's really on you. Are you able to produce substantial economic value for the U.S.? And then what makes the EB2 a green card is the national interest waiver. So the national interest waiver is sort of the kicker, if you will, that says that, hey, it's in the nation's interest for you to stay in the U.S. and become an employer. And so that's essentially sort of what the U.S. government wants to see, right? That you're contributing to the U.S. and that you don't need a job.
All right. Yeah, that's a good insight, actually. For there might be many listeners who might be interested in the similar kind of strategy. But now let's pivot back to our normal conversation related to real estate and development. So in Tennessee, the first project you said the development project was a 4-unit, which you sold. And are you still into the residential side of the development, or have you pivoted to any commercial or larger multifamilies?
Yeah.
What's your main focus as of now?
Yeah, so essentially in 2019, I went off on my own. So Sapphire Development Group is my company. And so we had acquired a industrial site in downtown in 2022. That is my first brownfield project. So I'm currently working through the environmental cleanup phase with the state of Tennessee. And so we're redeveloping that site for 32 townhomes. So that's right now our latest project. We're actively looking for more land opportunities from a land development standpoint, but also for a full development going vertical, ideally towards the 75 units and up. So definitely looking to scale. But yeah, it's been great to also see the brownfield side with that industrial site cleanup. So that's right now our primary commercial experience. And then we're blending kind of the two. So I love the space to still develop where we provide housing opportunities.
So you're still at the environment, it's still at the initial phase, the clearing phase, just to get all the approvals from the town, this project.
So we actually just received state approval, I think last week. So we're working right now on the brownfield agreement, basically just kind of button it up. And then we're going to start applying for the demo permit. So hopefully in the next 2-3 months, we're demoing. Yeah.
That's nice. All right. And do you have any other residential projects going in parallel? Yeah,
so our projects are primarily focused in the downtown area, so 10 to 15 minutes around the Broadway area of Nashville. So we have some luxury units as well, just as you do. So Nashville luxury or urban luxury is more so in that like $1.6 million type range, under $2 million. And so, we have several like luxury homes, and then also townhome product that's more so in the like 600 range. So that's kind of what we've been focusing on, and then as well like land development.
How's Tennessee with regards to getting all the permits and Does it take a long time?
Well, I certainly over the years it's been prolonged, right? I mean,
Yeah.
now permits takes a minute, unfortunately, right? So it's important to foster relationships at Metro and, be able to push things through. But yeah, it kind of depends on like what team you have. I think so far I've been very fortunate to have had a great team that has, made progress, I would say, in a pretty good, like timely manner, or at least as fast as we could have. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, because here in New Jersey, as you said, right, it all depends on town to town. Whereas some might take 1 month and some might take 6 months to get
Yeah.
everything ready. But all right. So now you raise capital, as you mentioned earlier, right, for these projects. Is it really like, do you have a fund, or do you do a 506B, 506C? What kind of structure do you have to raise capital for these projects?
Yeah, so our capital raises are primarily direct investments. We work with family offices, so larger check sizes, and then also high net worth individuals. So everybody's accredited investors. And
Mhm.
so that way we've been able to just, roll without having to syndicate. But certainly, like, as the projects grow larger, I'm open to it. I understand the process very well. But yeah, so far I've been fortunate to go the direct investment route as the check sizes just have been large enough.
Mhm. And if for the projects, right? If you come across a new project that you want to start, is it like a project by project, or it is like a fund structure where you have the family office, your investors, everything invested in the fund, and then you can direct those funds to multiple projects at a time? What's your structure as of now?
So far I've not done a blind fund where we just like sort of raise and then like, we deploy it in different projects.
Mhm.
I really just have been more so focusing on a project by project. I think, in order to do blind funds, I think we still, are a little bit more boutique than that. I think like, raising for blind funds, you definitely are looking at larger
Roger.
raises.
Yeah.
So right now our largest raise is about a $7 million equity check. So it's about an $18-20 million type project.
Okay.
So yeah, I think for those type of deals, you still can go the family office route. Even in this market, what we have seen, I'm curious to hear what you have seen. We've seen family offices wanting to take a sole position in such a project. That's
Yeah.
currently been in the conversation, because for them it's really lucrative in this market, to come in and even like substitute the bank. What have you seen?
No, mainly I've been working with the banks. All right. So as well as the other investors, of course, investors and banks. I haven't dealt with the family offices as of now. Maybe in future I might, try to check out how it works out with family offices. Because what I've seen is, uh, if there is one major investor, they try to dictate the terms, which where I would, which I would be less flexible for, because I would like to make my own decisions on, based on my experience, to make or divert the project in the right direction instead of someone else guiding or telling me what to do and what to not. What's your experience with family office? How do you see that?
I think it just really depends how you negotiate. I think it
Uh-huh.
depends deal to deal, but certainly they're looking for operational, obviously developers that can deploy their funds. So I've seen it across the board. Obviously some family offices are more aggressive than others,
Mhm.
but I think in this market there's definitely a lot of family office interest.
How did you approach the family offices? Was it through a personal contact, or you had a you had a list of family offices and you just approached them on one-on-one basis?
Usually family office introductions are by referral
Yeah.
basis or really personal network. And then obviously there are some family offices that you maybe hear of and then, you reach out to. But certainly referrals are great. And then just within like the network.
Mhm. And what is your deal structure with your investors, like the splits and, you know?
Yeah, so it really just depends. I mean, on some of like the luxury homes, for example, they kind of get a preferred payout. And on other ends, like it kind of depends what they prefer. It's just like a profit share.
Yeah.
So we always like try that, our investors are coming out towards like a 20 plus like XIRR. And then obviously some situations like they're near 30. So far investors have been pretty happy.
And of course, I'm pretty much sure the cash flow won't start from the first month or the first quarter, because it's a development project. The project needs to be completed before you do the disbursement to the investors. How does it work with you?
Yeah, our investors get paid at closing. So we always, for development projects, it's all in arrears, essentially accrued at the end on closing day.
Same for us, because of course, in the development project, you can't start paying off the returns while the project is in still construction phase. But otherwise, what's the meaning? You have to raise more capital to pay off the investors to some. It dilutes the fund, and
I mean, I think it's in their interest, right, on the investors' interest, to make sure that the project is lean and mean, and then that also there's not like additional cash outlay during the project, and then that way that preserves, I think, the overall like net profits. And it kind of depends, like obviously where they're tied in, whether they're lending or whether they're on an equity basis. But certainly if they have any kind of equity stake in terms of like profit share, then it's in their interest to make sure that the project gets done smoothly. And the leaner, I think, the better the final profits for them as well.
And now talking about the real construction, right? You might have a team of subcontractors, I'm sure, to execute all the development project. So how do you vet these subcontractors? What are the specific things that you'd look into while vetting them out?
So we primarily work with general contractors, and then the general contractors employ their subs. We have in the past, last year, explored like building ourselves as well. But for me, like personally, it's been just more so the decision to lean into some other opportunities. We just acquired like basically a brokerage. It was like an asset sale. So we now have our own brokerage of agents. So we're focusing a little bit more on the sales side. But on the general contractors, and what we make sure that when we look for new GCs, that we vet them, that we walk their projects, right? That we call references, talk to people that they have worked for, built for, and then really asking a lot of detailed questions about their operations, right? Do they have superintendents? If so, how many projects do they have at any given time, so that the supervision is never compromised? And then also, do they have a cost estimator, obviously, on staff? And are you really getting 3 quotes like per trade? Are they shopping? Because the last thing you want is, them being just over capacity, essentially, and them not being able to shop pricing for construction. As you know, construction costs always have gone up the last years, and it's very vital for the project success to shop for the best deals while preserving the quality. So we vet contractors quite intensively and make sure that they're solid before we hire them.
So that's a good thing too, right? If you hire a subcontractor, he takes care about all the general contractors. You have to a little bit pay extra for their work, because they're leading the project as a general contractor. They're taking care of all the getting the subcontractor, hiring everything. It gives you free time to focus on the other things. And
I think like the way I look at like building a team, you want to focus on the strength of each, and I think having a GC kind of helps, just having them laser focus on just really the vertical, while you're able to also look for the next projects, right? So
that's right.
I think it kind of depends, obviously, what team you have and what you're looking to do. If you're looking to scale further, or if you're kind of building a few units a year, I think that, with the right GC, you're able to do more. And then also it should be kind of a liability hedge, right? Because at the end of the day, they're basically in charge of making sure that all the subs, are up to speed and really show up on the job. I think it can also kind of save you a little bit like cost of the project managers. I mean, in the past, I've had like executive assistants that can also help manage some of that, in construction phase. And then having a good bookkeeper that can also make sure that all the backup invoices are there. So we do always request backup invoices for our projects.
Do you plan to get into the or get a general contractor license anytime soon for your firm?
Maybe at some point, but right now it's not planned.
Okay. All right. So now tell us about, you have been through many projects, right? Real estate development projects. If you can tell us about one project, one difficult project that you came across, and how did you sort that out? How did you, try to mitigate those risks that you
I
encountered?
think I'm going to say actually really my first, I think a lot of times people say that the first project is the hardest. I think that's certainly probably true.
That's the main learning curve, right? First project,
Yeah,
you come across so many different things.
I think at the time it took us 24 banks to underwrite it. So it just was a massive grind. Ever since obviously now, having had a track record, it's been a lot easier. Getting bank financing as well. And so, but the first project we built in a neighborhood that was very underdeveloped. Actually, in fact, it was along the main prostitution line in Nashville, former prostitution line. And so it just was it was a difficult project from a safety standpoint, from an underwriting, or like from a financing standpoint. Mm-hmm. And then also because of the crime around, really just getting this through construction. That was definitely a project that caused a lot of sleepless nights. And I'm glad I had this as the first, because I think, from there, obviously took a lot of lessons, but at the same time, it was also very satisfying to see that we worked through it, and, it worked out. And Right. What was your most difficult one? I'm curious.
The one difficult one, okay. We in New Jersey, we bought a knockdown house, okay, and we had to. It was a corner property in Jersey City. Our main goal was to buy the adjacent property and merge it and build a multifamily apartments on those property. Because based on the code, if you have an area of more than 5,000 square feet, you can build 4 floors or 5-floor apartment building. And we bought the corner property, and after buying the adjacent one, we tried to get the town to get an approval to merge these two lots and get us the zoning permits. And eventually what we found out is the second property that we had bought, the adjacent property, the owner of that property had died in test, and there was no will that, so we had to deal with all their children's, grandchildren's, everyone to get the sign off. So we had to pay them. We didn't knew it, while buying the adjacent property, because I bought it in auction, that one, the adjacent one. Yeah, it came in auction and I had bought it in auction. So we had to go through a lot of back and forth with the lawyers, and
you want to have a good attorney in real estate.
Yeah. So that was one part where the project got delayed, because we found out at the end, we'll have to get sign off from this, contracts from all their children's and the grandchildren's that are,
Yeah, I've definitely been there before too. Those heir and estate issues can be very severe and can cost a lot of time. And so depending on how you finance a project, you want to make sure that you get that stuff figured out in the beginning. But that's also the risk with auction properties, I think, a lot of times.
Yes, that is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I could have given it back, after finding out, like, the paperwork isn't in place, all the paperwork, I could have given it back to the court, the auctioneer, instead of buying it. But I wanted it because I had the adjacent lot and I want to, merge them to So I had to go through all the pain, but eventually it paid out. It was a good project.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So the other thing, Josephine, what I've noticed is, in the development space, right, mostly there are men's. How did you get into development? What inspired you? Because being a woman, didn't you find it hard to get into here?
I think it was all very natural, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think my journey's definitely been a little bit more out of like necessity and running with opportunities as I, went through like the immigration journey. I was just always very open-minded, and I grew up really interested in just technicalities, like in terms of I went to like in Germany, we have like sort of a school, the high school that has a major, and basically it's like a design and media technology type major. And we had architectural drawing, we had, even like coding and whatnot. So we learned a lot of technology aspects. And so I think that, even throughout like that process, like I just always had an interest to have some technical background. And so I think even, learning like finance is kind of like the lingo of, finance, and understanding more like the depth of like, oh, what does this mean? And like, how about that? And I think like, so real estate really is more that physical pillar of finance, right? Because at the end of the day, anything in real estate is financially related.
Yeah, everything gets down to the numbers, right?
Right. So I think this was very natural. And then I think also on the construction end, it's still very numbers focused, right? So I think it blends in really well together. And so I love the construction aspect. And so real estate development, I think, was actually perfect for me. I feel like it found me versus, then vice versa. And it's been a fun journey, but I have not really had like really, sort of setbacks being a woman. I think it's more so an opportunity being a woman in real estate development, because you obviously stand out more, right? I think it also, you bring some diversity to the table. You think differently. I think when you design projects, like floor plans are kind of differently thought out. And so far I think it's been really a fun ride. So yeah. That's
great. Yeah, it's nice to have diversity in the real development space also, of course, as you said. And I heard you have also started an academy which teaches how to get into the development space. Is that true?
Yes. So we launched Developer Academy pretty much earlier this year. And so we help any real estate A player, whether you're a realtor, wholesaler, investor, trying to break into real estate development. So we fully break it down and make sure that knowledge is accessible, and we teach you everything that you need to know about real estate development. So we even have covered like in a restaurant built out, like restaurant ground up development. We're covering, townhome developments, multifamily. So really wanting to make sure that more women come into the space, and more, just in general, basically A players find their way to development, because I think it provides that opportunity to build a pipeline, right? Build wealth. And so I think when I started, I wish I would have had that, and I had to learn everything by trial and error. So I think there was just like this opportunity to kind of democratize more that knowledge of real estate development.
Well, that's great, because it's so hard to break into real estate development, as you know, right? Because there are so many different aspects you need to cover, starting from sourcing the deal, financing the deal, all the construction till the end, disposing the property or selling the property, I would say. So many different levels you have to go through. Instead of just buying, normal investor just buy and hold for rent. This is a totally different animal altogether.
Yeah, I mean, you're much more involved as an operator, right? And like building a team. I always say, as a real estate developer, you get paid for your vision, right? And then the nerves to put it all together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So I'm loving this conversation, Josephine, but I also want to be very respectful for your time, and would like to move to the final round of questions. Is there anything else that you would like to tell to our listeners before we move to the final round?
No, I mean, if you're interested to learn more about development, come find me.
Yep, sure. So the first question, which is the one book that you'll recommend which had the most impact on your life or on your business?
It's actually a book I read earlier this year. I love that book. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. So it talks about the upper limit problem, sort of that, you've maybe had like a home run, slam dunk type of deal. And then you're like getting there and you're like, and so, I think it's a really cool book to talk about, like just pushing beyond and also focusing on the journey, and just really, making that journey of getting to your audacious goal really joyful.
All right. I haven't read that book, but maybe I'll put it on my list for
Read it.
sure.
I want to
Yeah. What are your main source of information to learn and grow?
I mean, I love to learn through podcasts. I love the All In podcast. I listen to that religiously every week. I love, just exchanges like even what we're having right now, right? Like learning from each other. And just like also within the field, like locally, events and conferences.
That's great. And what is the best business or investment advice that you'd like to give to our listeners?
Always do your due diligence. I think that is a good one. I think that covers any venture investments, any real estate investments in projects. And I think people just don't do enough due diligence.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? You got to check out whom you're investing with, what's your risk appetite, and then, move forward accordingly. All right. Final question. What is the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, please find me on Instagram, Josephine Saffert, or LinkedIn. Instagram is always better for us. But yeah, you see a glimpse at what we're doing and our style, and would love to connect.
All right, Josephine, it was a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure our listeners will also have many takeaways from the show.
Yeah, appreciate you for doing this and getting me on the show. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Decoding Cash Flow, brought to you by Aster Capital. If you found value in this episode, then please share it with someone who you think could benefit from it. And make sure to act on what you've learned. If you want Ted Patel to personally help you reach your goals, then feel free to set up a one-on-one call with him. Also, visit us at astercapital.com for more free resources. Content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. As always, please consult your own advisor before making any investment decisions or setting a course of action. Thanks again for joining us on this episode of Decoding Cash Flow, and we'll catch you in the next episode.